So, with having that background in mental health and entering this field of like local politics, not that, you want to like diagnose people in your social circle, but have you been around some people that are maybe a little unfavorable to be around and you're just like, oh, this person really needs to take care of themselves. Like they need some me time. You know what I mean? Like, are you able to see that around you? 'Cause you mentioned like sometimes there's parts of that community, that local political community that seems off-putting. It almost seems like it's designed that way, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like I think of it as like the different lunch tables in high school, maybe, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you can't sit here. This table's not for you. It's like, well, why not? Right.
For sure.
But it's like, well, they have something that they probably got to work through. What is it? What have you like observed in that regard?
That is a great question. That's this is one of those answers I have to be a little careful around. Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So there's two things, right? As a mental health professional, you are tasked with understanding that no matter how off you would think someone is, everything is normal. Everyone is normal. And whatever people are, that's them. That's just them. And your job is to accept that. And if you want to be around that person, support that.
Sure.
So that's a general holistic view of looking at people, like, non-judgmental, not like
that's like
everything's okay.
Empathy in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's understanding where somebody's
like
coming
this.
from.
You're like this. Okay.
Yeah.
You need something from me? Like, it's very simple. It's don't judge people, and people are who they are, not who you expect them to be.
Yeah.
On the campaign front. It's a little different. So like there's really, really basic phenomenon that go on. And I think that there's really something interesting going on in politics when you look at the party system and the people affiliated to certain party systems. And I always say that it's easier to be bad than good. So if there's bad stuff going on in like politics and bad legislation being pushed or anything like that, I mean, it's like, I feel like it would be easier to do that. It's really easy for me to sit at a computer and make a very bad beat. Right.
Okay. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's not easy to make the good one that the world is going to like. So when it comes to trying to be a district judge or anything like that, a good volunteer, it's very difficult to do. It's difficult to put your time into it, to be creative enough, to be good enough at that. And I think that your question about do they need some me time stuff?
Yeah.
There's a phenomenon in which people who are organizing, like organizers and volunteers, there's organizers and there's like super volunteers. Those people, it seems that they get burnt out a lot. Like a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're getting pulled from everybody. Like my campaign feels like they need them. Their campaign, every campaign needs these certain people within the city. And then the super volunteers are getting called every week by 1,000 different campaigns. And they're committed to certain things and they're really passionate about it. But it's often those people who are so passionate about it doing so much that like it's at an unsustainable level, and you'll see them like drop off a certain campaign, or kind of just disappear from everybody on social media for a couple months. Like there's something like that happens like yearly that I see on like Facebook, or like people left my campaign like a few times, pop back in because everything is too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely going on.
One of the things that it's always interested me in the realm of not even just local politics, but politics in general is, there is an undeniable situation where there are a lot of people that just seem like they don't really care about the job that they're doing. But when you combine that with the amount of work that it takes and all of the options of things that people can do in life to make a living and put some meaning into their lives, like, why would you do something like this? Like, whether it's district judge or anything along those lines, like if you didn't really care about the job, why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah, the contradiction of like are you genuinely here doing stuff?
Yeah.
Are you genuinely
like, why would you put yourself as like as a leader of a community in some aspect if you don't give a shit about the community? Do you think maybe sometimes people start caring and they get burnt out over time? Or there's other like, I have no idea what it is.
There's a few ways to look at it, right? Like I don't have the answers. Like I can't say why people are doing things. But there is like it's an internal battle, man. Like to do anything's an internal battle, right? Like I'm sure there were frustrating times when you were setting all this up or getting started that and something inside of you is like, man, I don't want to do this.
I think about stopping the podcast about once a month, but I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. That's
it's what it is. Yeah.
Creating or working or anything. Right. Yeah. So like, say you are, we're not talking about politics here. All right. Let's say you had a job that paid you $110K a year. You got in it for the right reasons. And over time, you lost hope of what you could accomplish. And you had that once a month feeling of, I should stop. But you're getting paid $110K a year.
Yeah.
Would you stop? Or would you just stop doing the stuff that you never had to do in the first place? And just keep your check?
Yeah.
That's like, I'm not saying that's a phenomenon in politics. I'm just saying that is an interesting way to look at something like that. And then there's another way to look at it, like people just starting out with the wrong reasons, right? Like, so you never know how someone gets to a certain space. Like it's all our perception too. Like we are never able to deem someone not caring about what they do or not genuinely being there, because those are intrinsic things. You can't measure that. I can't accuse you of that because there's no record of someone saying, I hate this job. I don't care about this job. I'm just here for the perks. No one says that. So that would be the only way you could really measure it. And like, actually, there's no other way. There's no other way to do that, right? Because then it would just be an accusation. So that's probably my counseling background coming out, that non-judgmental thing, because I understand that it's not measurable. I can't tell you how you feel about something. So when we look at certain politicians or anybody in a position, we feel like they don't care about the job and they're not doing a great job. It's hard to really do anything about it or say anything about it because who knows?
Yeah, and I think that there's so much personal nuance that goes into everybody's unique opinion about like what is a good job or what is a bad job. And it's interesting because most of the time when I talk to people that are involved in things like what you're doing, it seems like everybody that I talk to is like really, really into this. But then if like you watch people on TV, like giving an interview or something like that, maybe somebody that's a little bit more seasoned, it just doesn't, you see like there's like this passion that's gone. And is it like a result of like, oh, they've had to do 24 television interviews in the past 3 hours and they're just like burnt out? What is it? You know, like it's an interesting thing for me because going back to your point of like, this seems like uninviting, like as just a community member, I feel like it's really hard for me to care at all because it's just like, I don't know. Everybody has their own lives and things that they do, right? And the people that are in those positions have their own lives and things that they do. And everybody is, to some degree, unaware of how much their like selfishness kind of taps into those decisions at the end of the day. Yeah. Right. So it makes it a little bit difficult to always assume like, or it makes me feel weird too to like be like, oh, why isn't this person doing something that benefits me directly? When I'm like, I'm just one small piece of a large puzzle, right?